Welcome back to this Effen Show, the 2024 edition. I am your Uncle Drew. That handsome devil
Trans
is
Dad,
Trans Dad.
Trans Dad, Spencer, howdy.
We are here. Listen, we took a little break for a couple reasons. One, it's the new year, it's the holidays. Also, I needed to take care of my life and my mental health a little bit, and so Spencer was super supportive in every way possible. So thank you, sir, for being there for
Oh,
me.
absolutely. And the end of the year, beginning of the year for me is also like the land of navigating the parenting schedule in unique ways
Right.
that requires like so much juggling to try to get back on track.
Yes.
So, but now we're there.
Yeah, and that makes sense because you're co-parenting with someone, so you got to do.
Yeah, and we split like winter break and then it's
Yeah.
just it's every year. It's a thing. It's all good.
So now it is 2024. It is a new year.
It is.
It's an election year. It's a new season. Um, I'm really happy to learn from Nikki Haley that we no longer live in a racist country. I'm
And that
really
it's never been.
no. I
Like
was so
who
wrong.
knew?
Not me. I had no
That's
idea.
not the world I live in, but I'm glad that Nikki lives on Earth too, where things are just utopia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How was
Um,
she ever an ambassador?
Girl, how did she govern a state? How did she? How did she? How
How
did
does
she
she
run?
govern her day-to-day life? I don't like
What was the thing she said about the Civil War too? It wasn't about
it
slavery.
wasn't about slavery, it was about uh I don't even know.
The old trope is it was states' rights. It was the states' rights to own other human beings. So
Right.
follow the thread, yeah.
Or if you put it in the context of it was about the economy. Yes, an economy driven by slavery.
Slave labor. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I swear to God, I listen sometimes to these, and I refuse to call them Republicans anymore because they're not. But you
They're
listen to
MAGAs.
these MAGA nuts, and the the absolute pretzels they turn themselves into
Yes. To
trying
believe.
to say whatever. It's like what is it now? Three different state governors that have refused federal money for school lunches.
Because it's a democratic
But
government,
but
federal state.
we
Yeah.
care about the lives of children.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And
There's a flaw in your logic.
and will refuse federal aid because it comes from a Democratic president for children, but will outlaw story times because they have drag queens because we
Right.
care about the children.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Or we'll ban trans health care because we care about the children. Now, we don't mind if those trans kids kill themselves. In
Oops.
fact, we'd be kind of happy about that.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't say that part out loud, but
yeah.
really, if kids die, that's okay, as long as we can force 10-year-olds to get pregnant and stay pregnant.
And that's the, I mean, obviously, this whole conundrum is a giant booger, right? But we care about
Right.
children so much that we won't allow abortion because the children, but we won't feed
Right.
them or contribute to reading programs or contribute to any sort of social service that would support these children. Yeah, I mean, in the old line, I love it's not that you're pro life, you're just pro birth, right? You don't
Right.
give a shit about these children.
You don't, and the reality is what they care about is control of bodies, which is why, like, it never ceases to amaze me when pro-choice people don't understand that you need to join forces with the pro-trans folks because
Mm,
it's the same arguments being made that you
hmm.
either womb having person or trans identified person
Hmm.
are either too stupid or too erratic or too mentally ill, or
Hmm.
you need to be protected
Hmm.
by cis men from making life decisions that we think are bad. So we're going to control you and what you do with your body
Hmm.
because we know better.
And let's follow that thread. If we say it is illegal to get abortion, it is illegal to provide care for your trans children.
What the fuck was that?
You saw that then, right? Balloons just showed up.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
If you're just listening, cartoon balloons just floated around my face.
Uh,
All right. Well, I'm going to
okay,
continue because I have something very
all right.
smart to say,
Yeah.
and I'm going to sound really smart, and these balloons are not going to take away from it. All right. So if abortion is illegal, I'm say waiting for the balloons. Maybe there were some keywords. Nope. Okay. Caring for your trans children is illegal. Helping women get abortions is illegal, and we make these a federal offense. Then we just created all of these felons who can't vote,
Right.
and the control continues on a bigger level.
Right. And then let's add in, we're not going to feed children at school. We're not going to allow children to read certain books. We're not going to allow drag queens to read to children because we prefer an electorate that's stupid
Stupid. Yeah.
and easily controlled.
Yeah.
And for people to not be able to connect these dots to me is infuriating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're
Like,
if
I don't understand how you can't, like, open your eyes, people.
It feeds into, so the patriarchy wants power control, right? Like obedience. We all know
Right.
that, right? But so if we eliminate all DEI programming, well, that allows us white folks to continue to look at people of color as not as human as us. If we continue to make it really, really hard or drive away queer people, then it helps cis folks to feel powerful because queer folks really aren't the same. They are different. They're
Right.
less than us, right?
Right.
So all of these agendas are just pushing divisiveness the same way that like gerrymandering was, I believe, was trying to create republics, right? Geographical republics.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyone who's not white and conservative, get out of the South, get out of Texas, get out of Florida. Then we can have our
Right.
little geographic republic. And all of this is doing that, right? We don't want to look at people of color as just as deserving as we are. We don't want to look at queer people as just as deserving as we are. So we're going to
We
make
don't
all
want to
this
look at
legislation
women as being just
against
as
women.
deserving as we
Yeah.
are.
And this is just patriarchy, a cornered animal lashing out because it knows
Yeah.
that it's dying. It knows that its time is limited. So it's going
Yeah.
to fight harder and grosser and ickier than it has previously because it knows its time is up. And that gives me
Well, and
some
the fact
comfort.
that you have now politicians saying the quiet parts out loud,
Yeah.
quoting liberally from Mein Kampf
Yep.
or Goebbels,
Yep. Yeah. Rewriting history,
like,
rewriting Jesus, rewriting race, rewriting women, rewriting
yeah,
all of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, I feel so let down by mainstream media at this point. I mean, I think especially for those of us who grew up at a time when, you watched Walter Cronkite on the news, you watched Barbara Walters, you
Ted
watched
Koppel was my guy. Yeah.
Ted Koppel, you watched folks who had a commitment, or even looking back to Watergate, you had journalists, you had television reporters who were committed to exposing the truth without without caring whether the players were of one party or the other. It was about exposing the truth of a thing. So like I think about uh, watching things on the news like the Kent State massacre,
Hmm.
which was a massacre by police on peaceful protesters. I
Yeah.
think about the reporting from the South with journalists going and seeing for themselves what was happening on the ground and reporting it back to us. And we could rely, or at least I felt like we could rely on the news to tell us the truth, whether we liked it or not, whether it made us feel good or not.
So do you think that mainstream, and we're not talking about Fox News, and we won't even talk about
No,
MSNBC, right? So do you think mainstream
it,
media is not doing it, or do you think that I mean, because my theory is that there are still those outlets that are just reporting facts and truth, but a majority of us have been had our minds tainted by him to mistrust the
well, and
news.
not just him, but think about, Nazi boy over at the, you know, the channel that he bought and then has trashed. He's all about disinformation.
Hmm.
His whole thing is about disinformation and
Yeah,
elevating those people that provide disinformation to the point where he bans journalists who tell the truth.
and this is out of the fascist playbook, right? Make the
Yes.
masses suspect the truth unless it comes from me. You can trust me.
Right.
I
Right.
have the truth. Nobody else does. And and sadly, there is a large portion of our country that's like, yes, ooh, Claw is our God, right? Like, so,
Right.
there's so many people that believe that that they have it right.
Right. And if you
So
present
then,
them with facts, they will again twist themselves into knots to not believe those facts. So, when we look at, for example, all the stuff with trans kids, that's a whole huge portion of what's happening, right? So, we're 20, not even 20 days into 2024, and there's been over 200 bills brought around the country that are anti-trans in some way, whether it's bathroom, like fucking bathroom bans,
yeah, yeah,
defining trans people as intrinsically obscene, and so therefore no trans person can be within 2,500 feet of a school.
yeah, yeah, interfering with medical care,
Right.
which is not new for them, but
Can't
to
participate in sports. Uh, you can't use the name or pronouns that are authentic to you if you're a student. We're going to forcibly out you to your parents. um, it's all about creating an atmosphere of fear and terror and people wanting to turn you in to get that bounty.
yeah,
I mean, look at the Texas abortion thing where it's like your neighbors can turn you in if they suspect, not that you've actually had an abortion, but they suspect that you might have,
that poor woman, that
to
poor black
collect
woman.
$10,000 from the state.
Yeah, and I can't, she's not Michigan, it's not Wisconsin. She's from a cold state. That poor woman of color who had a miscarriage in her bathroom got arrested.
Ohio.
And yes, charges were dropped, but the message was there.
Yeah.
Message received.
Well, not only was the message received, but she had been arrested, fingerprinted, had to go through sitting in jail until she had an arraignment hearing,
Yeah,
got released on bond,
yeah. And the
and then had
reason
to wait.
Yeah.
And they had to wait for months for the grand jury to finally come back. Now, you know what? The prosecutor could have very easily made the decision early on. You know what? There's nothing chargeable here. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
But the prosecutor decided to go through with a grand jury.
And that is intimidation. And it's the same thing
It is.
as these Texas or these terrible MAGA state and anti-trans kids. It's the same thing. It's intimidation to hold on to power.
Right. And as you pointed out, she would have been designated a felon and would never be able to vote again.
Yep. Yep. So just keep doing that all across the country. You know, when is it going to be criminalized? We're already trying to criminalize healthcare providers or trans kids. Are we going to start criminalizing their parents, charging them with child abuse if they move or try to get care for their kid?
Well, I mean, you have Texas trying to do that, right? Because they've tried to force Children's Hospital in Washington state to turn over their records from their gender care clinic to the state of Texas. Now, thankfully, a number of things. One, here in Washington state, it's going to be a big to Texas
F
on
off.
that,
Yeah.
because we already have a law that says we're a sanctuary state. Also, healthcare provider is going to be, yeah, we're not turning over medical records to you.
Yeah.
Unlike Vanderbilt University,
Yeah.
that
I know.
turned over their medical records to their state attorney general on every single person that receives gender affirming care there.
Yeah. Because the attorney general just wanted to do an audit. That's all. I just want to audit. That's it.
It's an
Nothing
audit. It's
nefarious.
just an audit. It's not a fucking audit. You
The
want names. You're compiling a list of people.
the good news is, I think it was either Rhode Island or Vermont. Again, details not my forte. Some New England state this morning was just like they're in a rush to become a sanctuary state for trans people. Like they're trying to push
Because
through.
Maine is looking at becoming a state that has bans on trans people. Maine, Maine.
Maine, the first one of the first states for gay marriage. Yeah, you know, it all comes down to Big Scary Jesus. Their version of Jesus is,
Well, and why they think Cheeto Man is it, like the second coming.
right, because he makes them feel good about themselves because they don't have to question. They get to stay in power.
Right.
It's very little mental gymnastics to just say everyone is love. I get it. It's a lot of mental gymnastics to believe in Big Scary Jesus and Cheeto Man. I don't get it, but you know,
It's
it's
interesting though. Like we've been, I don't know about you, but we've been doing a deep dive on all these like cult documentaries recently. Just fascinating to me.
yeah.
They're fascinating. So we watched the Twin Flames one.
Oh, I
Did you
don't know
see
that one.
that one at all?
Uh-uh. Is that the one
Fascinating.
with the Silver Lady, or is that no? That's
No, that's Mother God.
Mother God. Yeah,
That's another
Mother
one
Love
that's like,
Bone. Something. Yeah, yeah,
you people are so. Wow.
yeah.
No, the Twin Flames one, part of what's weird about it, because there's a trans twist. So for any of you that are listening or watching that haven't seen it, I'm sorry that I'm gonna like
Spoiler it. Are you gonna spoiler
drop
it?
some little truths here. You might want to turn this off for, I don't know, 5 minutes and then come back on if you don't want a spoiler. So spoiler alert, here it comes. Um, so the Twin Flames one is all about how you're supposed to find your twin flame.
Okay.
So it's this couple who they start out like most cults, right? They start out seeming like lovely, loving people who just have a happy message about we're going to help you find your one true love, your twin flame, blah, 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 right? And then as time progresses, they get their true colors come out.
Oh no.
So at the beginning, it's this very heteronormative cult, right?
Yeah.
But then they discover, oh man, you know what? We're losing numbers. We got to figure out how to get other people
The
roped
queer
in, and
house.
we're not getting queers because like the heteronormative thing.
Yeah.
Oh, but wait, we'll impose a heteronormative thing by claiming that one person has to be the male and one person has to be the female.
Oh,
And so now, interestingly, uh, the vast majority of couples that they try to impose this on, right? I'm going to guess that there is some underlying uh, element of transness to some of these folks. But essentially, they're telling one person in the couple, you need to transition.
oh, 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 oh. There are authorities on that.
So you get people that like had never, seemingly, never expressed any interest in transition, who then start on hormones and start having
Because these
surgeries.
people told them
And
to.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now, some of those folks that they interviewed, genuinely, I'm looking at them and I'm like, yeah, like this became a vehicle for you to
Access.
become your authentic self,
Yeah.
right? But then there's a couple people that they interview who are like, yeah, no, that never fit for me. And like, and
Dang.
these are folks that didn't ever take hormones or
Yeah.
anything, but they had been told you need to be the masculine person in this relationship. And they're like, yeah, no, that didn't really fit for me.
No.
Um, but it's just fascinating to me, just the characteristics of cults, the charismatic leader, the people who feel lost and want someone to give them answers.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. That's the history of organized religion, whether it's
Right,
mainstream or a cult, right? And
right.
here's, the truth as a woo woo person, right? Like you're we're never going to be told what to do. No one's going to tell you
Yeah,
what to do. You get your own agency, your own autonomy, our own choices, and that's what the patriarchy hates,
right,
right? And that's what nice guy Jesus is all about. Is you get to choose. It's personal. It's up to you. But the MAGA, the patriarchy, the Christian nationalists, the racists, the misogynists, it's all about, you're going to do what I say. And there's nothing more evil than demanding obedience instead of autonomy. That's the
right.
most evil thing to me, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
that playbook works. It works for a kooky ass cult. It works for Southern Baptists. It works for MAGA Republicans, right?
yeah.
You know, the eternal optimist is, I think we're waking up to that, right? The reason these documentaries are getting made is because we're now like, oh, that's kooky. That ain't right, right?
Right.
So we just got to keep realizing that, you know, MAGA will lose. It will lose,
It will.
right? But it's not
It
going to
will.
just lose because we want it to. Like, vote
No.
and come
Yeah.
out and create safe space and be an ally and do the work. So that's my kumbaya for 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps a little less kumbaya.
Yeah.
Um, Not that I don't think that we will ultimately win,
Hmm.
if one can call it winning, but I I am I'm pretty convinced that things are going to get a lot worse prior to November.
And it might get ugly, right?
I think it's going to get pretty ugly.
I'm trying to say, okay, you're going to get ugly over there. Do it. Go ahead. I can't save you, ugly MAGA weirdos. I can't. So do what you're going to do. I'm going to be over here emphasizing good people,
Right.
righteousness, equality, equity, right? Doing the good work. I want everyone to get together and focus on that. I don't want
Yeah.
to. I just can't gnash my teeth and wring my hands and lament over
No, there's
MAGA
there's
anymore.
no point in that. There's no
Yeah.
point in that.
Yeah.
And if anything, my big message for this year is if you haven't registered to vote, register. If you are registered, keep checking that your registration is still active
Yeah.
and then vote in every election up and down the ballot. I don't care if you give a shit about who the land commissioner is in your county, vote.
Yeah.
Spend
And
some
check on
time
your friends.
educating yourself as to who these people are that you're voting for.
Yeah. Talk to your friends. See, are they registered? Can you help them register? Talk to your family. Can you help them register? How are they going
Right.
to vote? Yeah.
If you
And
live in a
it's,
state that doesn't have mail-in voting, figure out how you're getting to the polls and how you can help somebody else get there.
yeah, especially in these freaky gerrymandering states, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I will say that there are lots of signs that things are cracking, right? Like the fact that Lauren Boebert is having to run in a different district because she knows she'll lose in her current district.
Isn't it Lady Gaga's fault or Ryan Reynolds' fault or something that she's
I
blaming?
think it's Ryan Reynolds' fault. Ironic that a Canadian is responsible for her inability to run
Yeah, in her district. Yeah.
in her
Yeah, she knows
district
she
again.
lose. Yeah. Which I was like, she's not going to win next election. This move on her
And is
part,
it Mint Mobile that is sending out the messages to people?
yeah. So it's smart of her to switch districts. I'd be curious to see if it's going to work. It's not dumb of her. It's smart. She saw the writing on the
Well, I
wall,
mean, part of
or
why she
somebody
did it
did.
is because she knew that they were going to put up somebody to primary her in her own
Yeah.
district. And the Democrat that ran against her last time only lost by like 500 votes. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think
The
she
writing was on
can
the
win
wall.
that district again.
No, especially after Theatergate, right? Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. So it is a simple message. It's been the message since I was of voting age, right? But like you gotta vote. And I'm
yeah,
I'm encouraged by younger generations who seem pissed off and are tired of getting
yeah,
shot up and marginalized and realize the power of voting, right? Like the kids are all right.
yeah,
They're gonna do the right thing. And that's
yeah.
that's
No, I think
hopeful.
the kids are great.
Yeah.
I worry about the 30-year-olds being
Yeah.
apathetic.
I also worry too that some research came out that said Gen X is getting more conservative. I'm like, really, Gen X? Come on. What are we doing? Right? Like,
Yeah,
we're Gen X. I don't give a fuck.
right.
You guys get conservative
And
now?
the thing that I rely on is that I'm a Jonesian. I'm not a boomer. I mean, technically I'm a boomer, but really I'm a Jonesian, which is like those of us from I think like 58 to 65 birth year, where like our politics are very much driven by the fact that we grew up dealing with the civil rights movement, the women's rights movement, Watergate, Vietnam as kids.
Hmm.
So our politics are driven much more by that. And we also missed out on the boom of the 80s. Like we didn't benefit
Oh, yeah, yeah.
from the economic boom of the early 80s. We graduated from college at the end of that.
Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah.
So I think my particular micro generation is pretty radicalized in
Thank God.
a progressive way.
Yeah. Because I was like, if we lose Gen X, I mean, maybe I'm sensitive to it because it's my generation, but I'm like,
Yeah.
if we start losing these generations that we can't lose, then that's
Yeah.
concerning. But
No, that's
we'll
bad.
be all right.
That would be
Yeah,
bad.
we'll be all right. We're gonna be all right. We'll right this ship. It may take a while. It may be painful as hell. It may be uncomfortable, but the democracy will hold. We just have to
Yeah.
be active
Well, and I think
participants.
the more that we can create visibility and talk about the realities of the intersections between various marginalized communities of how the tactics of the right are really designed to just control and or eradicate all of us,
Hmm.
the better off we're going to be.
Yeah, yeah. It's the school of fish versus the shark, right? If we all
Right.
band together, we're bigger than the shark. It's just got to come with some activity. It's got to come with some intentional activity around taking
Yeah,
democracy away from the patriarchy. So, and it starts with
yeah,
voting
it
and
does.
education. Yeah.
Yep. And,
Well,
I gotta say, one, thanks RuPaul for the speech during the Emmy award about like, drag queens reading to your kids are good.
yeah, yeah.
And, I mean, RuPaul's been bringing the get out the vote message on Drag Race for years at the end of
Every episode.
every episode.
Yeah. Yes. And we will be saved by a man in a dress. Verily, I say unto you, look to the horizon. See me
You
arrive,
know,
a man in a dress.
queers save the world yet again,
Yet again. That's our magic power. You're welcome, everybody.
right? We
Yes.
make
Yeah,
everything better.
we do. We are the epitome of agency. We are the epitome of rejecting what we think we have to do for
Right.
relationships, for identity, for careers. So
Sorry, I have like helicopters flying above me, which is very odd.
you've been busted. Somebody
Who
knocked you
knows?
out. Well, I don't have any more balloons.
Very
I
odd.
kept hoping that those would show up, but you
I
got
don't know what
helicopters this
that
time.
was. It like the counting thing
Nope.
doesn't,
Nope.
I don't
Nope.
know.
It's just balloons.
That was truly, I mean, I'm used to the ghosts being on the show,
You're welcome.
but now they're sending balloons.
Got us sending balloons. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, ghosts. All right. Well, go out and vote. We're looking forward to 2024.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of work to do, but there's a lot of good stuff out there.
If you live in a state that has primaries coming up, um, stay educated, stay involved, get involved in local politics. Um, it doesn't really take a whole lot um, to like get involved in your local Democratic Party um, or whatever party you choose. Hopefully, it's not that one. Um, but get involved, learn what's going on, um, and stay informed.
Yeah. We got to save ourselves. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, sir. Happy New Year.
Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Happy season two.
Yes. Yes. Yes, it
Don't
is.
don't look at me like, what the hell are you talking about?
At first, I was Drag Race. I'm like, girl, we're on season 16. But
No,
no.
we're on season 16. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm already, and let me just throw in a plug. I'm already a big fan of Q on season 16.
Yep,
That's my front runner.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Go Kansas City. All right, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that next week. We'll get a drag race recap. So,
Yes,
uh, and congratulations to Venus from Canada. I was
absolutely. Did a
from
wonderful
Vienna.
job.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
looking forward to UK versus the world starting in a few short weeks.
yes, yeah. More men in dresses, please. That's all I'm looking for.
More men in dresses.
Yeah.
I love, did you see the promo where Mayhem Miller is like, I'm now the new Jujubee.
No, go get it, mayhem. Oh, God bless. All right. Thank you for
All
joining
right.
us as always.
Yeah. And you can find us on YouTube at This Effen Show. You can find us on Instagram at This Effen Show. You can send us email at thiseffinshow@gmail.com. Let us know what your thoughts are, what topics you'd like us to talk about in the weeks and months ahead. And yeah, And as always, feel free to, send us some cash if you like the show. Subscribe. Subscribing helps us out, particularly on Spotify and YouTube.
Yeah.
And we look forward to spending time with you in the weeks to come.
Happy New Year, everybody. See you next time.